Clearing us live, even if we're not. What's up, everybody? Hope everyone's having a great Friday. Going to be here for the next half hour or so on DK Live, talking sports. Joining me, as always, Matt Lamarca on Friday. So we're going to take you down an interesting little, menagerie of things to talk about. We're going to talk about some baseball off the top. I'll touch on the golf tournament because one of my players actually played well today, so I'm going to have to bring that up. And we'll probably go through a couple other sports. This is just a weird time in the schedule. The NBA's back, so we'll go through that. But the NHL's on. But then the XFL is around. I haven't done any NASCAR research, so we're not talking about NASCAR. We won't get that crazy. But anyways, how you doing, Matt?
I'm great. I'm feeling rejuvenated. Took a couple days off here during the NBA All-Star break, and now it's like starting to get back into motion. So sometimes it's a little tough to get that ball rolling downhill, but once you get back into the swing of things, it's good. And yeah, ultimately I'm feeling pretty fresh.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I had my struggles today as well. I really didn't get anything done today, but I at least have the idea now that I'm going to get stuff done. So, like the panic is setting in, and tomorrow I'll
Yeah,
probably work,
listen,
but
that's part of being a writer, right? I mean,
it's definitely a
I had
part.
a journalism teacher that told me that like being a bad student, being a procrastinator, it prepares you for a life of living on a deadline, right? You know how to time manage, you know how to get stuff in working under pressure. So that's always been my excuse, right? Like, no, I'm not a procrastinator. I just know how to hit deadlines.
Right. It's true. That is basically it. If you're a writer, you know exactly what we're talking about. We're speaking your language. But yeah, that's how this week has gone for me as well. A lot of wasted time, and I'm gonna pay the price on the weekend. But I would have wasted the time anyways. So
Yeah.
because that's how I do. That's how I roll. Look, let's start with this craziness nonsense that's going on. Apparently, it's spring training baseball. Um, what's going on? Give me the lowdown on what you're looking for this week. Is there any bets that we should be looking at? Is there anything for DFS? Honestly, we don't even really have to talk about this specifically to like a slate or anything. Just
Yeah.
give me the stuff you're looking for. It's again, the boys are back. I don't know what do you call them, the boys of spring. What do you call baseball guys? Spring training's on. Well, give me some stuff to roll off here.
So yeah, I don't do spring training DFS. I mean, it's hard enough to try and predict what players are going to get hits and stuff, but in spring training you have to try and figure out how many at bats guys are going to get. It's to me, spring training is more you just want to see guys not getting hurt. You want to see if they're a pitcher, like are they working on anything new? Like have they added another pitch to their repertoire, stuff like that. And the most important thing is just positional battles, right? Like there are a lot of teams where sort of the number 5 starter might be up in the air. There are bullpen jobs that are going to be decided in spring training, platoon situations. So to me, it's more like, preseason NFL. I'm not paying a ton of attention to the actual results on the field. I just want to see how some of these situations play out. And of course, like you would rather a guy does good in spring training than he does bad.
Yeah, that's probably a good rule of thumb. Feels like that with baseball too. When slumps can take place, they build in preseason and then they sometimes carry over into the regular season. I'll ask you a more specific question. I did see our guy Steve Buchanan, who is living off the fame of his, I can't even remember who it was now. Robbie,
Seattle.
who?
Seattle.
No, the Cy Young Award.
Oh, Robbie Ray.
Robbie Ray. He's just going to live off that the rest of his life. It was a great call, but he did throw out another Cy Young futures bet in George Kirby. He was at 60-1 on the DraftKings sportsbook. Now, I don't know anything about this guy, so why don't you tell us? Do you think that's a good bet? Is there someone else in the Cy Young Awards? I just want your opinion to see if it lines up with Buchanan, and see where it takes us.
I do like Kirby as a pitcher. I mean, he was very impressive as a rookie last year. He had a 3.31 xERA. He pitched 130 innings, strike out roughly a batter per inning. So I think he's a good pitcher. I don't think he's ready to put himself into the Cy Young conversation. So I'm not willing to go that far down the board if I'm looking for a Cy Young pick. I'm sticking more up near the top. I just think that like especially with this year, you look at all these guys, it's kind of spread out, these top 10 to 15 options. I think whichever one of those guys, stays the most healthy is probably going to be able to take home the award. So, I have a soft spot for Jacob deGrom. If he stays healthy, he's going to win because he's the best pitcher in baseball. But that's become a huge if, right? I mean, Jacob deGrom making 30 starts a year feels basically impossible at this point. So I'm not particularly interested in actually betting him. I think I would rather go with somebody like Shane McClanahan at 12-1, who was very much in the mix last year. Not the greatest second half of the season, but he's a big strikeout guy. He's got electric stuff. I think that he could take another step forward now in his third full season. But when I'm looking for Cy Young guys, I want guys who are going to be elite strikeout arms. And I think that McClanahan fits that bill.
Okay, there you go. So what about these rule changes with baseball? Like, is there anything specifically where you think that there's an advantage to be had? Our fantastic crew behind the scene, Tom, Andrew, they're dropping some stuff here that I think is actually really good to bring up. The pitch clock, is that going to give an advantage, to the batters early on? No shift. Are we going? Is there again, like certain-handed power hitter now? That should we just be targeting? Is this just all going to help hitters basically this season? We're going to see a big shift back towards a little bit more offense. Is there anything there with any of these things that you think we should be looking at and maybe taking advantage of, whether it's like early in the season fantasy or some like season-long stuff?
Yeah, so I do think the pitch clock stuff, for some pitchers, it's going to have no effect at all, right? There are some guys that get the ball and just throw it.
Yeah.
But there are other guys who are a bit more methodical that I think there is going to be a bit of a learning curve. I think that the shift, they did ban certain things, but it's not like they didn't go as extreme as they could have, right? So I believe the official rules are you have to have 2 defenders on either side of the bag, and all infielders have to have both feet on the dirt, right? You can't play like your second baseman as a short outfielder.
Yeah.
So I still think you're going to see, the second baseman playing in the hole and the shortstop playing sort of right next to the bag. So it's not like all of a sudden lefties are just going to be able to keep pulling the ball and finding space. It'll help them for sure. But, I still think that for the most part, if you're hitting like ground balls to the pull side, like you'll have a little bit of a better BABIP on those than you would have, but that's still not how you want to be hitting the ball in general, right? Like we talk about fly ball rates and hard hit rates and stuff like that. The shift really has no impact on any of that stuff. So I don't know if it's going to have as big of an impact as maybe some might think. Basically everything that baseball is doing is to try and generate more in-game action, right? Less strikeouts, less home runs, more balls in play. So to me, the bigger thing, and we won't know until the season starts, is I want to see how the ball is, right? Last year, it was kind of known that the ball was de-juiced. And if that is still the case, then I think that offense is going to stay pretty stagnant, right? I mean, it's how hard the batters are hitting the ball, how many home runs are being hit. That's going to drive scoring more than, a slight increase to your batted ball on pull side grounders.
Fair enough. Let's the other thing that they changed is the scheduling, right?
Yes.
What was it? What exactly did they do? Did they just limit the number of in-division games? Is that right?
Correct. Right. So it used to be like every team played, I want to say 18 divisional games, against each opponent. And this year, I think it's 11 or 12.
Okay.
So every team is going to play a little bit of a more balanced schedule at this point. And you would think that that is a benefit for teams that play in good divisions, but it also is kind of a hindrance to those teams, right? Like, as a Mets fan, I know more about the Mets than I do about most other teams. And you would think that playing the Braves and Phillies less times would be a good thing for them. But in reality, it also means that they're playing the Marlins and Nationals less times. And those games are getting replaced by harder opponents.
Right.
So if anything, it's kind of a slight negative for teams that play in divisions like that are lopsided, like the Dodgers, right? Instead of getting to beat up on
Yeah.
teams like the Rockies
Yep.
and the Diamondbacks for 40 games a year, now they're going to have to play a little bit of a tougher schedule.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't think it's like something maybe huge. I mean, is there a division you think like it would like just benefit more, like the AL East maybe? Is it, but like other than that, I think your point is exactly correct. Like if anything, it may make it tougher for some of those topper teams. Like I don't know. It
I
doesn't. I
think
don't think it's going to make a huge difference either. But is there like one division you think it would like help more than others? Like, do you think it helps the AL East?
um I would say the AL East, yes, because there are legitimately 5 teams in
Yeah.
that division that think they can make the playoffs. But
Yeah.
I think the bigger beneficiaries are going to be just the bottom dwellers in really
Right.
good divisions.
Maybe it'll be interesting to see. That is interesting. Maybe there'll be a little bit more parity. Maybe teams will be there won't be quite as many teams with like 50 wins on the season. Who knows? But yeah. The other thing with that is this is like, oh yeah, like all those teams are like legit. They could all win the World Series. I mean, who knows? 80 games in, a couple of those teams could be terrible too. It does happen. So
Yep.
yeah, interesting thing to note though. Schedule change. That was the other big thing with baseball. So I mean, let's just take a look at. Is there anything else? I mean, I don't look. I don't have any baseball futures to go off of. So you tell me. Is there anything that you're hitting up with futures on the baseball side, or anything that you think people should be watching, or going into spring training, or?
So I really like for a lot of the reasons we just talked about. I am on the Miami Marlins over. I
Okay.
think
Oh,
that
okay.
they are going to be a pretty big beneficiary of this schedule change, right? Instead of having to play the Mets, Braves, and Phillies nearly 60 times, now
Yep.
they're only going to have to play those teams, 35 times or so.
Right.
And they have an abundance of just elite, nasty pitching prospects. They already had the Cy Young winner from last year in Sandy Alcantara, but there are just like legitimately, I feel like they have 10 guys that could be, MLB caliber starters,
Right.
some of which, are high end starters like Erie Perez, one of the top pitching prospects in baseball. Edward Cabrera was an elite pitching prospect. He got hurt last year. Jesus Luzardo showed some signs for the Marlins last year. Like, it would not shock me if the Marlins finished the 2023 season with one of the best rotations in baseball. So I think them getting over 76.5 wins, like I could see them even being borderline playoff contenders. So I like Miami quite a bit this year.
Where did they finish last year?
Last year, they were 69. Yeah, 69 and 93. So we're talking, it's a solid step up. They'd have to win, 7 additional games, 8 additional games roughly. So,
Yeah.
but I think that's possible.
Yeah, it's not that big a jump. I mean, obviously, I mean, 69 was probably perhaps on the lower end of their range as well. So, yeah, interesting. Okay. So there you go. There's I like that. I mean, I think whenever you're looking at futures, you got to think like, is this a team that's been bet on a lot? Is there a lot of people on this, or am I buying a good number? And I mean, I can't see. Maybe I'm wrong in saying this, but I can't see a ton of people betting Marlins futures, especially on the over. So that sounds really intriguing to me, to be honest. Anything else in this, and then we'll head over to a little NBA action. You can give us some thoughts tonight if you want, or any
I
World
think if you're
Series
looking,
bets.
yeah, if you're looking at the World Series odds, I think the Phillies are pretty intriguing at 17 to 1. That's pricing them as the fifth best team in the National League. And
Right.
I'm not sure if they're not the best team in the National League at this point, right? They have some big time arms. We know about the offense. They have just a ton of big time talent on that side of the ball. So baseball is a grind. It's, you have to get healthy. And they do play they do play in a tough division, but this team made it to the World Series last year, and I think they are undoubtedly a better team heading into this season.
Okay. So Philly's there plus 1,700. Yeah, it's definitely still a decent number. Okay. No Oakland Athletics love. The Athletics are 50,000. Jesus. Okay. Anyways, well, let's switch gears. I mean, we can kind of pick our poison here. Do you want to do some NBA?
Let's go to golf. I'm
All
getting
right.
into the golf a little bit more this year, and I know that this is not a premier event,
It's a
but
premier course, though.
yeah, I'm curious to get some of your golf takes.
Well, tell me who you're on this week. Are you on anyone?
No, I ate the chalk a little bit. I went with Shane Lowry,
Okay.
the
I mean,
Irishman.
he's still in it.
Yeah, he's hanging in there. But
Yeah, he got in at 4 under, so he's 6 back. But the thing is, like, there's a lot of double bogeys and stuff available. So, I mean, this event is pretty much going how you thought it would be. Right now, I think Billy Horschel is he was in the water at one point, so he may just be self-destructing, which he does. He's Billy Horschel, which I don't. Yeah, he's at -2. Billy Horschel's done. Get out of here, pal. Good. Emerson can cry about it tonight. He's his favorite golfer because he like grew up. He lives like 20 minutes from Jacksonville or something. So, anyways, that's Emerson's guy. He gone. He's at -2. My guy, who Emerson should have bet or should have listened to me about, Chris Kirk. He's the co-favorite with Justin Sue. Justin Sue is a very, very talented young player, and it's going to hurt me internally if I miss getting on the win with him this week. But at the same time, kind of an interesting spot, leader after round 2. Of course, I don't know if he's ever played here professionally as a pro. He may have had one start. I can't remember. But Kirk definitely had it going today. He was flashing early in the season as well. It's a player who was really close to grabbing a win a couple times last year. T7 at this event last season as well. He's the kind of consistent, not unflappable veteran that you kind of expect to do well here. So he's a deserving favor right now. But I mean, this is a lot of water on this course. So I'll be honest. Anyone at -5 and up is probably really live right now. It is hard to make up strokes on this course, but we also don't have a very strong top of the field this year. So you're probably going to see a little bit of craziness going on. My guy, Young Hanan, is there at plus 2,800 too. He can make a lot of birdies, can also make a lot of bogeys. But, I mean, this thing is wide open. I mean, you look down the list, and Lowry is like the only guy a casual golf fan might be able to pick out of the lineup here. So, yeah, I saw you raise your hand. Eric Cole's interesting at plus 1,400, but this thing is absolutely wide open, man. I hope Kirk gets it done, but this thing is it is what it is. It's a weaker field event on a course that brings a lot of water in and makes things tough for the players. And you're seeing the variance play out right now.
Sticking with golf, but switching away from the Honda Classic. Are you starting to get the vibes that we could be getting like a Tiger year from Jon Rahm? I mean, he's already won 3 times?
Yeah.
And he has 2 other top 10s. Like, it's starting to get to the point where I feel like this guy is going to be like plus 200 by the time the Masters rolls around.
Yeah, I'm trying to look for the Masters odds here. Here they go. Okay. I'm not even in charge of the screen share, but I just wanted to bring them up. Yeah, he's down to plus 600 now. It's really short, man, for the Masters especially. Typically the favorites at the Masters, especially when they get down to like this level, there's not a good history of them coming through. But at the same time, like Rahm is obviously playing kind of on a different level right now. It is interesting. We have seen players early in the season like reel off a couple big wins, like Dustin Johnson did it a few years ago. I'm not even sure if he won a major that season. I think that was also the season where he like fell down the stairs before the Masters or something. So that was kind of a weird thing. Rom is Rom doesn't have stare issues, and he's younger as well. So yeah, it could be. I still think that there's a lot of parity at the top of golf. Rom is the guy who's hot right now. Rory was the guy who was hot during the playoff season last year. Scheffler had his moment at this time last year,
He's
and
also
Cam
won
Smith.
this year too.
Like I know Cam Smith isn't on the PGA Tour, but Cam Smith had his moments last year when he won the Players and the Open Championship. So yeah, Rom is right now absolutely clearing away. And if there's anyone who's going to put together like win a couple majors, win like 8 tournaments, it's good. It's Rom. Like he is, to me, even though I say there's parity at the top, like Rom is clearing away the best player in the world. Like I don't even say that with hesitation. I mean, Rory, to me, when you put the top end of their games up, Rory is the only guy who comes close. I think Scheffler is right there, like kind of as a third. And we have seen some really high end golf from him, and he's very, very good. But I would say like Rom, Rory, talent wise, Scheffler, Smith. That's kind of where I would put them, in terms of order. So, yeah, if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be Rom. But man, it's just so competitive. I just like he's got to maintain this for like 6 more months, and I don't know, man. Like I feel like someone else will get hot. He'll probably nip him at the majors, and he could go the year without winning a major. It wouldn't be that big a shock. It's just so deep at the top of the fields.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it is just there's an insane amount of talent in the game right now because you forget about some of the live guys, right? Like, seeing Dustin Johnson's name on there. It's like,
yeah,
oh, DJ loves Augusta, right? So,
yeah.
You forget how many good golfers there are right now. Max Homa, another guy who has been just absolutely lights out to start the year. So
yeah, and it's funny, like you mentioned Finau and Homa down there. They're plus 2,500. You could even look further down, like Sung J Im is a really solid player. But I mean, guys like Finau and Homa, that's pretty much where I think personally you're going to be wanting to look in the range when the Masters come around. Maybe even Zalatoris. I don't know if I'd bet Zalatoris at the Masters, probably a better US Open bet. But he's finished runner up at the Masters, so certainly he's got some vibe with the course. But that's generally the range where I think it's stronger bets and where you can see a player potentially jump out and grab a win. Scheffler, had grabbed 3 wins before and then came into the Masters and kind of won. Max Homa has grabbed a win. He almost grabbed the win at Riviera. His odds are still being suppressed because Jon Rahm is playing so well. So, Homa is a guy, like, if you haven't jumped on for futures, I honestly still think he's a little bit undervalued. I really do at plus 2,500. I mean, I'm going to take Homa over Dustin Johnson at this point. Like, I really am. Dustin's not playing competitively. He hasn't played a competitive tournament yet this season. Like, he may have played in Saudi Arabia once or something, but like, I don't know. Like, I'd much rather take a bigger odds on Homa. So it is interesting. And the live guys, like you said, they kind of make it even a little bit more complicated in some ways. I think they actually give you better value on some of these other players because, like the books still have to price Dustin Johnson like an elite golfer, even if he's not coming in with the same competitive practice. So like I said, Homa and Finau are the guys I bet in futures. And I really like those prices still. I got them at bigger prices, obviously, but that was the price a month ago. The price today, I still think is okay. You need momentum coming into Augusta. We see it from pretty much every winner. They either have a win, they made a ton of cuts, they played really well, and they played a lot at the start of the season. Both those guys fit that bill. So yeah, it's coming up. Like we only got a month and what do we have? 6 weeks here until the Masters. So definitely time to start thinking about it.
Augusta, where we whisper into our microphones.
All right, let's go to NBA, man. Unless you got anything else on golf. I mean, we can talk.
Let's talk some hoop, man.
Let's do it.
We've got
what do we yeah, sorry. I blacked out for a second. The 8 games on the slate tonight. Anything like that we need to take note of, just in terms of like injuries or anything like that? Like I said, I'm not up to date on it. But is there anything for this slate particularly that you just want to point out to people in terms of like people playing and injuries and stuff like that?
Yeah, the big one is Giannis. He came into the day considered doubtful. He has since been upgraded to questionable. So it seems like there is a chance that he is going to actually suit up tonight. And this line, I want to say, was like 1.5 earlier in the day. So it's now up to 5.
Oh,
That
well,
kind
okay.
of is another inclination that Giannis might be in the lineup. And, it'll be sort of, if he does play, it'll be one of the first times in all season that the Bucks are at full strength because Bobby Portis is coming back tonight. And there hasn't been a lot of overlap between Bobby Portis and Chris Middleton this season. Basically, right as Middleton came back and started to play a little bit better, Portis went down with his injury. So I'll be interested to see how that looks, especially if Giannis is in the picture. I did see while we were on air that Fred VanVleet got an injury designation. I'm not sure if he is like officially out, questionable, doubtful. I just saw his name pop up, so that's something to keep an eye on. And then Golden State, they're still without Steph Curry. They're still without Andrew Wiggins. And now Draymond Green has been downgraded to questionable. So they
Okay.
could be thin here, second night of a back-to-back, but they are playing the
Yeah.
Rockets, who
I
are
was
a pretty dreadful team.
I was gonna say, is there any interest in the Rockets at 9.5 or
We're entering that part of the year where teams are positioning themselves for ping pong balls. So I don't feel comfortable taking a team like the Rockets, who it's in their best interest to lose games. Like, let's
yeah,
just be honest about it, right?
yeah.
They don't have Jalen Green. They don't have Kevin Porter Jr., and they traded away Eric Gordon. And if you can name another guard on that team besides one of those three players, I would be shocked, right? Like the casual NBA fan, I don't think is going to be able to give me Ty Washington off the top of their head.
Yeah. You
So,
you literally just mentioned the three Rockets that I knew. So no, I'm oh, is Sengun still on there? Alperen Sengun?
yes,
He's still on the
Şengün's going to
Rockets. Okay, there
play,
you go.
and he's one of my favorite centers on the DFS slate.
Yeah,
But
he lights it up in DFS. He gets the numbers when he gets minutes.
yes, he does. And he can do a little bit of everything. He's got some of that Jokic in him where he can, he can be a distributor. He can grab the boards and all that.
Yeah.
And his price tag has come down recently. So I think Şengün is a strong DFS value. And there are some other DFS players you can target for the Rockets. But especially considering how good the Warriors have been at home this season, I don't really feel great about grabbing 9.5 points, even with all of Golden State's absences.
Yeah, fair enough. Where are you looking on this slate? Give us a couple bets. Let's go. If you have
So
them. If not, you don't have.
I'm taking Cleveland. I've kind of harped on Cleveland a few times, talking about how I think that they are a value in the futures market,
Right.
and they are small underdogs tonight against the Hawks on the road. Now, the Hawks are going to be playing with a new head coach. They just can Nate McMillan. So you might see a little bit of extra motivation on that Atlanta side. Typically when you get rid of a coach, there's a little bit of a lift for that team. But I just think the Cavaliers are really, really good. And I think that, by the time things roll around, they could legitimately be, a top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. So I think grabbing them, you can take them on the money line, you can grab the point, whatever you prefer, but they should not be getting points against a team like Atlanta.
Yeah, the coach thing is so overblown, in my opinion, the changing coach narrative. Yeah. Anyways, okay, I like that. Any player props or anything else?
I also like the Thunder a little bit, they're catching 8.5 points against Phoenix. Phoenix is a team that, is definitely on the rise, but they
Yeah.
still don't have Kevin Durant. They still don't have Landry Shamet. So they are not a finished product. And the Thunder have been one of the best teams in the league at covering the spread this season. They're almost always big underdogs, and they come through for bettors. They're 35, 21, and 2 against the spread this season. And again, like almost always, they are a large dog. So I have no problem with them. I think that there's a chance that they can pull off the upset, or if not, just keep this game competitive. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander has gotten to the point where he is undoubtedly a top 10 player in the league.
Yeah.
And he is going to just keep them competitive as long as he's on the court. And that's why the Thunder are eventually going to shut him down, because again, they are trying to get themselves into the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes.
I like that call. Didn't know the Thunder had that good an ATS record, but I'm not shocked to hear it. They always seem to be a little bit more competitive than the spread indicates with them.
They're an interesting team, man. I'm very excited for not very excited, but I think that their future is pretty bright, because you've got Shea. I think Josh Giddey is an excellent, secondary type player. Another guy who can facilitate, who can score, does a little bit of everything. They haven't gotten anything from their top draft pick this year, Chet Holmgren. So we'll see how he looks when he eventually joins the equation. And then, they'll add another premium pick this year. They have all those Clippers picks from the Paul George trade that are going to come due at some point. So I think they're a team that you look at them and they have some hope. I mean, again, I think Shea is one of the best players in basketball right now. And by having that guy on your team, like, it's not that hard to build a competitive roster around them. I think that within the next year or two, the Thunder are going to become a pretty scary opponent.
Yeah. Whenever I looked at you look at like defense ratings or whatever, you just dive into it. It always seems like they're like, oh, this team isn't like that bad. So yeah, they definitely have some things piled up as well. Every time I think of OKC, I just think of that team with Westbrook, Harden, and Durant. And he's just like, I feel bad for the fans there. Like, that was like, how does that even happen? And then like, just, you don't get anything out of it. What an absolute tease. Anyways, I hope they become good again.
The answer is their owner wanted to save like $10 million.
Well, as an Edmonton Oilers fan, I lived through that, because our owner in the 80s and the early 90s split up the greatest team in hockey.
Right.
Because he was a broke loser. Peter Pocklington. Broke my heart. Anyways, I've lived through that for real. But yeah, OKC, interesting team. I'd love it. I like the small market teams. All right, I'm going to go through a couple NHL. Let's do a little NHL to end here. I got some bets for tonight.
Is that a total of 7 on a hockey game?
Yeah, there was 7 totals last night. There's been scoring's up, and the thing is, like, it's like you said, this time of year, Matt, because like there's the bad teams are just, they want to lose, so they're just teams are allowing goals at an insane rate. And you've got a couple teams matched up here with the Panthers and the Sabres, who don't have great goaltending. The Sabres allow a ton of shots, but they're also like top 3 in goals scored per game. The Panthers offense has been off the charts the last 10 games. They're averaging like over 4 goals per game. So we got a 7 handle there. The Panthers have been resting at home. So if I was looking for that game, I may even just look to like the goal scoring props. And can't remember. Oh, Sam Bennett is there at like over plus 200 for a goal. Top 6 shooter. Really don't mind that. I'd even potentially even just taking Alec Barkov at plus 145, but I think the good value there is on Bennett at plus 235. Goal scoring prop there. There should be a ton of goals in that game, so you could kind of look to both sides. But Bennett, I think, is like the best just overall value. We've seen him at like plus 160, plus 150 for goals props. So in this matchup, yeah, I'm a little surprised. And then my other guy for a goal prop, going to go to the Islanders game. Yeah, the Islanders and Kings. Kings played last night, so it's a really bad rest spot for them. They don't have the greatest goaltending either. And Anders Lee, I think he's Danish. I think Anders Lee is Danish. Plus 195 for a goal. Top 6 forward. Actually, top line forward, playing along Bo Horvat now. I think that's really good. Again, like I think he's a little bit underrated for a goal there, so I don't mind that. If you're looking for more game lines, The under in the Colorado Winnipeg game, I mean, the under trends with the Jets this season are just crazy. I don't have them all at the top of my head, but they are just an under machine. The Avalanche also have been kind of trending that way as well. And if you're looking for the money line stuff or just playing straight up, I kind of like the Islanders at home -130. Again, the Kings played last night, so that's the NHL roundup there in like a minute. I don't know, man. I mean, we got Sims coming up next. Is there anything we should leave? You got any hot Aaron Rodgers takes or anything like that? What do you think the Jets are doing with Derek Carr? Is this just all an act?
No,
what's going on?
The Jets don't want to go all in for Rodgers and then get left holding the bag when he decides he's going to open up a meditation retreat instead of play football next year. So I think if Derek Carr wants to go there, they will get that done. The report I saw today is he wants $35 million a year, which when I first saw that, I was like, my word, that is just crazy money for Derek Carr. But, speaking to my buddy Anthony a little bit, like, it's really not that much money for a quarterback these days, right? Especially when you consider that the salary cap only continues to go up and up and up. So if you sign a 4-year deal, by the time you get to the end of it, he might be underpaid at that much money. I don't think Carr is very good at this point, but there's no denying he'd be better than what they got from the position last year. So I'm kind of just accepting the fact that I think that they are going to go through with that move. And if they get Rodgers, then that would be just even better.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the 35 mil is big, but if you got room and, you limit it to like 3 years, I would rather, see them get Rodgers or probably even just, try and maybe even just draft another quarterback, to be honest. But anyways, it's not like that detrimental. It's not like you're signing Kirk Cousins for like 10 years or something. So, yeah, I feel like that's probably going to happen, but I would really like them to see Rodgers. Anyways, guys, we got to go. That's Matt Lamarking. Follow him on Twitter at Matt Lamarking. Follow me on Twitter at The Fantasy Grind. We will be back next week. The Slate 5 days a week. We're coming out to you around 5:15 Eastern every day. And then The Sweat on, you can follow at DK Live on the Twitter machine. The Sweat coming at you daily as well, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern. We got Sims coming up next. New England versus Philly. Mac Jones, Jalen Hurts.
Super Bowl rematch from.
Oh, that's.
How long ago?
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
2017. 4 years ago.
We need Foles and Brady, man. Yeah, 2017.
Yeah, a little Philly special.
All right, little Philly special. All right, you guys have fun watching that. I'm gonna have fun watching golf this weekend, watching Chris Kirk beat Billy Horschel by 20 strokes. Have a good one, guys.